Hi everybody, so this week I want to look at Force 4 of our 5 Forces model, which is looking at how to create distinctive dominance. How do you carve out a unique space in this busy landscape? So distinctive dominance is about how do you separate yourself and dominate in a marketplace. It doesn't matter if you're the biggest player in the market or whether you're quite a new entrant. It's about how do you set yourself up to be distinctive and to dominate within it. And there's 3 things that you really want to cover off. Number 1 is about how do you enhance your competitive advantage. Number 2, how do you have a success blueprint to share with your customer base? And number 3, how do you build brand loyalty? Let me explain this in more detail. So enhancing your competitive advantage. In essence, we need to understand what is competitive advantage. Now, your products and services may be great, but are they really unique? It's really hard to have a USP these days. However, what you can have is a distinctive selling point. And in order to define your competitive advantage, one of the things that we need to understand is what is it that we do that's distinctively different, or the way that we do it is different. So there's lots of different things you can look at, but look inward and outward to help understand what is that competitive advantage that you bring. And secondly, define some of the attributes that can leverage the competitive advantage for that distinctive dominance. The second thing I want to talk about is a success blueprint. What's really interesting is in order to buy from you, the customers need to be reassured and have confidence about what's going to happen. Now, talking about competitive advantage and the success blueprint, one of the things I want you to consider is what happens after the customer buys. Now, what's interesting is if you then decide and define for the customer what that blueprint of success looks like for them, what you can do is you can craft a compelling argument and display to the customer why they're not at risk and why you reduce that risk. So you can look at things like onboarding processes, defining the milestones and metrics that you're going to measure by, the resources that you're going to allocate in terms of customer success, and then you've got to personalize that approach. Demonstrate to them, how it's going to scale as they scale, how it's going to grow when they grow, and invite them to be part of the feedback loop and continuous improvement. The third thing is around building brand loyalty. Now, what's really important in this marketplace today is to create a community. Now, what's interesting is as you start to create that community and you bring people together, you start to drive a much more of a brand loyalty perspective, but also think about how do you integrate that into your quarterly business reviews and your customer meetings. So one of the things I would consider is integrating an advocacy incentive program. So when you look at an advocacy incentive program, it's about how do I incentivize the customer to be an advocate and to start to communicate and share the values of what the program or solution brings to them. Now, what value looks like to it, I'm not suggesting for a minute it's all giveaways and freebies and you're paying people, but you need to understand what your customer values and cherishes. It may be exposure for themselves, seeing themselves to be much more of a subject matter expert. Consider what it is when you start defining your advocacy incentive program. So integrate that into your QBRs.